Hello everybody, Adele and April here from Just Say Scrap, and we are here with Technique Tuesday. So sorry this is coming to you so late. I've been feeling a little under the weather today, but here we are. So we recorded this actually last week, and I think both Mom and I are very happy with the final results. So today we're going to be making a hanging pumpkin with you guys. So to start this off, you have to take a pumpkin. You could get this either at a craft store or something like that, and you gotta cut it in half. As you see, I'm using a regular X-Acto knife from crafting or scrapbooking. I suggest using something a little bit thicker. This kept falling apart on me because the pumpkin was so thick, it was a little bit difficult to do, but I did eventually break through the pumpkin, which I was super excited about, and nothing happened to my X-Acto knife. I just think it would be a lot easier for your sake to use something else. It took me about 10 minutes to actually cut through this pumpkin, and the inside doesn't smell that great, just a warning. But once we got that pumpkin open, we needed to take our hot glue gun, some really good scissors that will cut through wired flowers, and then you have to actually buy some fake flowers, which we also got from Michaels. So the first thing was to cut them all in half. Mind you, this project is going to make 2 pumpkin door hangings. So we went and we found everything that we liked. We liked the colors that were more of the reds and the oranges and the blues. That was the theme that we stuck to, but Michaels did have a huge assortment of different colors that you could get. And then we split them into 2 groups. So one group's going to be for me, one group is going to be for Mom. And then we had to set up the florals how we liked them by splitting our half in half again. So as you see here, we are starting to separate the colors and putting them 2 opposite ways, and you will see why we're doing this in a second once the pumpkin comes back in. So even with only 3 bunches of flowers, we had a ton of flowers to work with. So you can do this project alone, but if you do have an extra set of hands around the house or wherever you are deciding to do this, it is helpful because you can have that person help you hold the pumpkin or the leaves together. So just in case you want to do this, maybe have somebody nearby when you are doing it. So this string that we are actually using right now is extras from our paper pumpkin kits. So it is awesome that with the paper pumpkin kits through Stampin' Up, you get so many extra pieces, and then you can use them for crafts like this. So we are using that gold and that blue thread, and we actually had enough for both pumpkins, so that's how much extra we had. And we were just using that in case you can see this thread in the end. We wanted to make sure that it was something that was a nicer color, something that we wouldn't mind being a part of our pumpkin hanging. So once that was all tied together, it was time to put it onto our pumpkin base. And we did need to shift around the leaves a little bit once we kind of figured out where it's going to go on the pumpkin, once we're getting it glued down, and a way that we like how the leaves look if you're going to be looking at it like a wreath. So we took in our pumpkin base, we were readjusting some of the leaves a little bit, and then once we put that first bit of hot glue down to try and start to establish our pumpkin base, that is when we started to move the leaves around. As you see here though, we did want it to be a little bit tighter, so I'm holding it once again and Mom is just tightening that string. Another reason why it is good to have another person sometimes, just so you can get a little bit more strength in making it a tighter hold. So I was not shy with hot glue. I basically just slapped a lot on there. I didn't use too many glue sticks, but I wasn't afraid to have to use more if I needed them. So that's why I had that mug there of extra glue, just so we can grab the glue when it's convenient for us. So as you see here, Mom and I are readjusting some of those flowers, and then I'm just throwing in more hot glue, readjusting, throwing in hot glue, and that way actually the hot glue is kind of going in between all of the leaves as well, and it's kind of just making them stay exactly how we like them. The nice thing about having the wired leaves and flowers as well is you can kind of play with them even once it's dry too. So we did play with them a little bit after we also put the bow on. So as you see here, we did get some ribbon. This ribbon was from Costco from a few years ago, and we are just making a bow now. We also took some of the Stampin' Up! Ribbon to tie the middle of this, which you will see helps us attach it to the pumpkin later. And then we are pulling apart the bow that we are creating for this pumpkin. Mom's bow was a 12-inch bow, so it's 6 inches on each side, so she's got a pretty big bow. As you'll see later, I played around with different sizes for the bow for my own. But once we kind of found how we liked that, we really loved the colors, we did just add some hot glue. As you see, I got myself there. Hot glue, and kept that ribbon down. So once again, we used something that we wouldn't have minded if the ribbon is seen from the outside of the pumpkin. And once we were holding that for a while, we decided, you know what, let's get a pin and let's just put a pin in this top of this. I had some extra crafting pins that worked really well, especially since it's foam. You can just stick them in the pumpkin, and that way that bow is never coming off. We have it glued as well, but that pin will really keep it in its place. And then it was just time to readjust the bow a little bit since I had been playing with putting it on there. And then we had one last step to do. So we have to make it hang off of the wall, right? So we just used some hot glue. You can, once again, if you wanted to, use a pin or something, but the hot glue works really well. I put it on the edge of the pumpkin just to get the glue, ribbon to stick, but then I also went back later on and actually put it on the piece that's hanging down. I use the glue to adhere it to the top of the pumpkin so it stays. So we were playing around with if we wanted the hanging to be above the bow or under the bow. In the end, we decided that we wanted to actually cut this ribbon in half and make it so the hanging is actually hidden by the bow, which worked out really well because then I just took the extra piece that I had there and used it on my hanging, and so it was waste not want not. Once again, this is a Stampin' Up! Ribbon, so their ribbon is really, really pretty. It's very useful for a lot of these things. And so Mom's was done, and then it was time to do my own pumpkin. So that was one of the great things I loved about this craft, is you can make something for yourself, but then you can also make something for a friend. So it was really nice being able to do this and craft with Mom and make our own home decor, but that way we have them each in each other's houses, and so then when we go and visit each other, we can see the creations that we've made. So as you see here, there is one difference between my pumpkin and Mom's pumpkin. We forgot to put a tail to her bow on her pumpkin. So I actually have that here, and I pinned in the tail, and then I made the bow. This bow was a 6-inch bow, so each of the parts of the bow are 3 inches long. I thought it was a little bit too small after we worked with it. You can see right there, that is the pin that I had poked through for the tail. So I made sure I cut it, and then I wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to poke me. So I did take glue, and I did this a few times even after it dried, just to make sure that that was safe and nobody was going to get poked. And I put the excess in a sticker just to also make sure that I threw that away so nobody was going to get poked by a random needle in my garbage. But that's just a tip for when you are using a pin, or if you are using a pin, make sure you're not poking through the pumpkin and hurting somebody. When I put the bow in, it's going through the top of the stem, which is a much thicker part of the pumpkin, so it doesn't come through, but if you're going lower down, it will stick through. So I readjusted my bow, and then I ended up making it 9 inches because Mom's was a 12, the other one was a 6, so this one was a 9, and it ended up working out really nicely. I liked how my bow was slightly smaller, and then we went back to Mom's and actually added a tail to hers. So the reason that we played with different bows, that one's mine, as you see right there, and that one's Mom's. Mom's is actually going to hang on the outside door, where mine is going to stay on the inside. So we wanted to just play with the different size bows, see if that made it a little bit different. And after looking at them on the doors, we did decide that we made the right choices for each of those. So these pumpkins are great for inside, outside, giving as gifts, keeping for yourself. It's a really fun activity, and we hope that you guys try them. So if you do, please let us know and send us pictures. We would love to see your own pumpkins. And the pumpkin doesn't have to be white. It could be any color pumpkin that you like out there. All right, that's Technique Tuesday. We'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.